Kenny Stars, it's Nigger Black White, and you don't get any what you want. They chill a lot and so what Jude and JJ Black White, and you don't get any what you want. They team a lot and then Lottie Wayla, so you don't get any what you want. They can run your district money and you can yage, and you don't get any what you want. They can run the Gayalian Lady, and you don't get any what you want. They can run the Scandinavia, and you don't get any what you want. They can run the Simbaisa, they may say what cut, and they are all the things Ladi, and you don't get any what you want. On the 8th of Silvego, the Udina Signigon, his name of Kudaga, that nice of Silvia, that's the nature.
Yeah, Joe, for starting us off in a good way. My name is Tammy Martin. I'll be your MC for today. I'd like to acknowledge that we have with us today Darren Montour, Chief of Police for Six Nations Police Service. We have Rob Davis, Chief of Police for the Brantford Police Service. And we also have Dr. Hill, who is former Interior. I would like to introduce you to Don Hill, who is a survivor of the Mohawk Institute. Should be sharing some words with you. This letter is dated July 21st, 2021, and it's addressed to Chief Darren Montour of the Police Department. In the early 1980s, possibly 1983, during work being done in the former Mohawk Institute, bones were found buried near the building. We understand the bones were identified as human, belonging to a child, either hip or shoulder bones. Later, the bones were reburied on the grounds. The police and the coroner were involved, but it does not appear that the matter was fully investigated. Where they are buried is unmarked. The Mohawk Institute was the longest-running residential school in Canada, and approximately 15,000 of our children were sent there. Many of these children are unaccounted for. Some disappeared, and we were told they ran away. We never saw them again, and neither did their families. Many children died at the Institute. We do not know what happened to them or where they are buried. We believe many are buried on the grounds of the former Mohawk Institute, now the Woodland Cultural Center, as well as the adjacent grounds and fields. We, the survivors, and those who are no longer with us or did not survive, were subject to all forms of physical, mental, and sexual abuse in the Institute. Some children died as a result of this abuse. Staff members and those running the Institute were never held to account for their actions. When children died, we were never told what happened to them. We believe some of them died as a result of the action of the staff, and these deaths are highly suspicious. Children's deaths were covered up and not reported properly. Children were taken from their families and sent to residential schools far from their homes to take them out of range of their families. Many families never saw their children again. We request the police to investigate the deaths of these children and where they are buried. We need answers, and we need to find the children. Thank you. Thank you, Don, for sharing that with us and for passing that information on to Chief Montour. I would also like to ask Chief Hill to the podium to share some remarks with you.
Nyawa Tammy. Sego, Scano, and good afternoon, and welcome to Six Nations of the Brantford Territory. I would like to begin by acknowledging and thanking our survivors who are with us here today, and to let them know that we are continuing to hear them, to support them, and to honor them as we embark on such a difficult journey. I would also like to say nyawa to Joe Martin for the opening and starting us off in a good way and with a good mind. The Mohawk Institute opened in 1828 in Brantford in what is now Ontario. Relocated in 1840 and destroyed by a fire in 1858, the rebuilt building and barns were again destroyed in a fire set by students in 1903. Another new building was erected and later expanded. the federal government took responsibility for the school in 1945. The institute was finally closed in 1970, although some children were held in the residence until 1971. What we know is that the TRC discovered records of at least 54 death records in the 142 years associated with the school. What we don't know is where those little bodies are buried. We know that throughout the Institute's history, there was an upwards of close to 500 acres that formed the school property. We know that every last acre needs to be searched. We have just witnessed survivors making an official request to our police, and we know that this is enough to trigger a criminal investigation. As stated in our June 11th letters to the Premier, the Solicitor General, the Attorney General, the Chief Coroner's Office, as well as the Ontario Provincial Police, that this again is a criminal death investigation. The reason we are commencing in this way is because we have witnessed what other communities have done. Proceeding in this way, we want to ensure that there is justice and accountability right from the beginning. We support our survivors, and it is time to do this work. If we do not do it this way, evidence may be compromised in the investigation process. There is much work to do. We are supporting the creation of a multi-jurisdictional major case management police task force. We are asking various police services to work with us in collaboration to do this investigation with, again, Six Nations Police Service, the Brantford City Police, as well as the Ontario Provincial Police. We will be putting in place several guiding principles, protocols, as well as oversight to this process, respecting survivors, not only from Six Nations, but from other communities as well. We know other children were brought to the Mohawk Institute from other communities across Turtle Island. We've been meeting with survivors these past weeks, and this is what they have said, that this process must be survivor-led, trauma-informed, community-involved, supported by Haudenosaunee law and legal principles, and respects nationhood and nation-to-nation diplomacy. They have clearly mandated the creation of a survivor secretariat that will coordinate death investigation processes and protocols, facilitate gathering of survivor and community statements, overseeing research and document collection activities, reporting to survivors, leadership, and community, establishing the commemoration policies and activities, as well as liaising with all levels of government to establish nation-to-nation leadership dialogue. Time is of an essence. Survivors are saying to move now. We have not yet received any funding from the federal or provincial governments to move this important work forward. And in fact, even further to that, we have not received an official response from our Prime Minister of our letter dated May 31st directly to his office. In fact, our community was quite disheartened to learn that our Prime Minister was in Hamilton yesterday, less than 30 minutes ago from the Mohawk Institute, and has yet to visit this place and has yet to visit our survivors and our community. In support of our survivors, to do this investigation under the newly created Survivor Secretariat, the Six Nations of the Grand River Elected Council passed a motion earlier this week to provide $1 million to the survivors so that they can begin this vital work, and again on an interim basis. And let's be clear that this is not a political process. This involves our entire community, led by our survivors. We are here to provide support and resources, and we hope that all other communities and organizations will do the same. With this work, what we've learned from other communities who are also going through the same pain and trauma is that we need to take our time to do our own healing in this journey. With that in mind, due to the sensitivity with what has just transpired with the official launch of this investigation, we will take a moment to absorb this and process it, and we'll be happy to speak with media in the next few days when more details will be shared. This is about recovering all of our children. This is what we are doing here in Six Nations. We have stated this in This is what we are doing here in Six Nations. We have stated this in